Hi guys, and welcome to A Dog's Soul, an empath's guide to your dog's feelings. Have you ever wondered why your cute and very well-behaved pup stops listening immediately when he reaches 6 months of age? Today, we're gonna talk about puberty and what's actually going on in our dogs. So stay tuned and have fun. Alright, so today I want to introduce you to Aris. Aris was a big puppy, but really friendly. He was very well behaved. He attended a group class from 8 weeks of age when he moved in with his family. And everything went really well. They had hoped to get an awesome family pet, and they chose a Labrador because, well, Labradors are supposed to be perfect family pets, right? Well, he was, until he reached 6 months of age. And with that, the horrible teens. Dun dun dun. Actually, teen years can be really horrible or they can be really funny, depending on how we see things. But let's have a look at what Aris was doing. He suddenly discovered that there was an opposite sex, and there were actually a lot of other dogs living nearby him. So he was living in a small city, very rural, but with a lot of dogs. So they had neighbors on 3 sides of their garden, and that was how this city was built. So almost every house had 3 neighbors, and about 60% of the neighborhood had dogs. So chances were pretty good that you met other dogs on your walks. And when Aris discovered that there were a lot of dogs living nearby, he started sniffing like crazy. He was a big boy. He was 45 kilos and pulling like a freight train. Because when mammals reach puberty, every animal that reaches puberty goes through this, our brain kind of goes into construction mode. So there are a lot of pathways built in our brains, and the brain kind of reassesses what it still needs and what it doesn't need. And of course, the other sex becomes a lot more interesting, right? When you think back to your teen years, it was kind of the same thing for us, right? We went a little bit crazy. And some of us went a lot crazy. I was one of those. I was really crazy. And for our dogs, it's the same thing. Some of our dogs become really crazy. Some of our dogs become a little crazy. But they all change. And for Aris, he was suddenly aware of so many things. So not only did he have to deal with all this development in his brain, but also he lived with 2 small kids, and they were very, very active kids. So peace and quiet in the home was kind of a rare thing. So what he would have needed in his teen years, what every dog needs in their teen years, is a lot of sleep, a lot of rest, a lot of quiet time to just process and to just give the brain time to do what the brain needs to do. And if the dogs don't get that, they tend to become more and more and more insane. So what we see is them pulling like crazy dogs, sniffing all the time, not listening at all, forgetting everything we taught them. So this is always a time where We cannot let them run around off leash because they don't have a recall anymore. And whenever there is a pretty girl coming along, they are gone. Or a pretty boy, depending on what sex your dog is. So we have to change what we were doing in the first 6 months, or in the first, actually, 4 months, or 3, depending on when you got your puppy. But between puppyhood and adolescence, so teen years, we have to change our routines with our dogs. So Aris was not being a naughty dog or a bad dog or stupid, even though he was a Molosser, so a Cane Corso, who often have a really bad reputation of being dumb or not cooperative or anything like that, which is not true. But the family wanted a Labrador, and Labradors are bred to cooperate with humans a lot more than Cane Corsos are. And I don't want to go into detail about what went wrong with the person who sold them the dog, but in the end, they had at least a Cane Corso mix. So maybe there is a Labrador in there somewhere, but he definitely has a Molosser in him as well. So they were struggling to get him to cooperate with them in any way. He wouldn't listen. He was completely in his own world when they walked outside. It didn't really matter where they walked in their city, but whenever they got outside, he was in his own space and he couldn't listen. And whenever they came across another dog, he would get really excited and lunge and bark, and sometimes even do that with humans. And in their group class, the trainer was no longer comfortable with letting Aris run around with the other dogs. They didn't really watch out for excitement levels, so they just let the dogs go crazy. And accidents happened on a regular basis. And with accidents, I mean one dog biting another dog. Because when dogs get too excited, they sometimes forget their bite inhibition a little bit, or they start fighting because emotions run just a little bit too high. And one incident with Aris actually was with a smaller dog, because he had to wait outside while the other dogs played. And when the small dog came out of the facility and walked past Aris, his human could no longer hold him, and he just couldn't contain himself any longer, and there was a bite incident. He didn't really hurt that other dog, but the size difference alone was really scary for everybody involved. And that was the point where his owners did make a decision not to go back to that dog training school again. And what they did then, when we started training together, was first they just gave Aris the opportunity to sniff and to walk in an area that was not that exciting, not too many dogs around, just a little more relaxing. They did different relaxation techniques, and they did switch to a different food because he was actually not fine with what he got to eat. It was really low quality, and he had food allergies as well. So this was a whole different thing, but it added to his discomfort and to his stress level. So this was all just changing the routines a little bit. It didn't cost them any time, any additional time, and we reduced walks a lot. and replace them with doing some brain games and sniffing work and all those fun things that make the dogs really tired. And if you need inspiration for that, go to the Brave Dog Training Online YouTube channel and go to the shorts section, because 3 times a week we have shorts that are mostly brain games and sniffing work. So you can just pick and choose what you like. And those things helped Aris to get his stress level really, really a lot lower. So a lot of the pulling went away without any training, but it wasn't resolved completely. So of course we started leash training when he was able to pay attention to us. Because in the beginning he wasn't, right? He was just in his own world and he couldn't listen. So training would have been pointless. It would have just been frustrating for everybody involved, because he kind of toned out his humans, and they tried with talking to him and talking to him and talking to him and talking to him, and he was just ignoring them because he couldn't make sense of what they wanted. And of course, in the past, with the training style they had experienced in the dog school, he knew that training was not fun. So this was another thing that we changed. We changed it so that we only did very, very short repetitions, and we gave him awesome rewards for not making any mistakes. We really set him up for success. And this was when his eyes started lighting up, because now for him training was something really fun. And for his owners as well, because they could just be proud of him, and they didn't hear the trainer constantly saying not very nice things about their dog, because I actually think Aris is a wonderful dog and he's really trying. He was from day one on, he just didn't know how. And the previous trainers had excluded him all the time. They wouldn't let him participate because they had given up on him, and they never praised them, neither the owners nor Aris. So this is not a nice experience to have, right? So when his owners realized that they actually had a dog who would enjoy training, it was a lot more fun for them as well. And the results were pretty quick. And whenever they realized that Aris had a bad day, either because he's a teen or because he had health issues, and they would sometimes come up again, so that was when he had a bad day, then they just took it slow. They shifted the walks to a quiet area again, and they just let him run off leash because he really had a great recall. We worked on that a little bit, but it was already pretty good. So there were no distractions, and he could just run off leash and sniff and have fun and just be a dog. And that also helped him sleep a lot better at home. So what we need to do with teen dogs, we need to understand them. When Aris had the feeling that whatever he did was wrong, and he couldn't live up to anyone's expectations anyway, he just opted out. He just didn't want to work with anybody because he couldn't do it right anyway. That's really frustrating. Who would want to do that, right? So we need to make it a little bit easier. If we see our dogs struggling, especially our teen dogs, we need to catch them where they are. We need to really tailor our training process so they could actually succeed. And that way we get super fast results and we have a lot of fun reaching them, right? And if we have a bad day, or if our dogs have a bad day, just skip training for that day. Do something that both of you enjoy and just have a good time together, because that strengthens the relationship and the bond again. And our dogs make the experience that we are actually fun to do stuff with. And there is something else than the other sex, right? Because if we are constantly boring or constantly annoying for our dogs, why should they choose us instead of having fun, right? We wouldn't do that, except if we were so afraid of the consequences that we chose what we were supposed to because of that. But that's no way to treat our dogs, right? So try to be understanding with your teen dog, and tell me in the comments if you have any questions, or tell me in the comments how your dog was in his teen years, or how he is in his teen years, if you're still in that period of your dog's life. And if that helps you, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up and a subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or rate and review the show if you're watching on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And share the episode with anybody you know could benefit from it and has a teen dog and is a little bit frustrated with that phase and with the dog in that phase. Because together we can help even more people and even more dogs get to the same level and have fun together again. I wish you a lot of fun training, and we'll see each other next time. Bye!